This is one of the darkest chapters since Kuma's backstory, and coincidentally, a lot of these scans are unfinished just like that one chapter. Chapter 1168, spoilers ahead. The chapter begins 15 years back in the story, and giant marines are giving giants a very good reputation. It's shown that trade with Elbaf is very prosperous. Then we cut back to Elbaf, and Harold is giving a speech to his citizens, proposing that they should build ships to visit their allies. He explains they're a minority in the perspective of the world, but there's a lot of other races like them that are able to coexist with one another. He's very hopeful about it, and so are his people. Then we cut to the school. Harold and Saul are watching the children in Elbaf play, and Harold is thanking Saul. Saul's like, hey, it's better to have sharp kids than kids with sharp blades. But even Saul tells Harold here, I think you lost something. Harold tells him, I don't think military power is what makes a country strong anymore. He attributes all of this to Ida, and we see her grave. She's already passed by this point. He says meeting her was the greatest blessing of my life. Shown this flashback, and she's praising Harold for how much he's changed Elbaf. Now children can laugh and study. It's a totally different country. Harold thinks those old customs just didn't work anymore. But even Harold's entire inspiration for pacifying Elbaf told him to his face, I kind of like the whole warrior's pride pass. You should cherish your culture. Harold still disagrees. He says, don't you get it? It's that exact culture that kept us from marrying. And she can't argue with that logic, but then she wants to know what would happen with Loki. He will always be Hyrudine's kid brother. Ida says, feelings like that keep my heart full. It's what keeps me going. He tells her that they're almost there. They're going to be connected with the whole world, and then they can just go sailing like they used to. She says, sweet, that sounds amazing. I'm looking forward to it. As she sticks out her hand and Harold accepts it, he says, me too, and then it drops. Harold walks out, and we see Hyrudine rush in, and he realizes what happened. The worst part about this is that Loki can't even be there with his mother because he's locked up because of what he did for his mother. Somehow this wasn't the page that Oda didn't finish. Cut to 14 years ago at Mary Joie, it seems that Shanks is missing. They say had he completed his last mission, he would be formally knighted. Gorosei tell Harold that you were the next option, so will you take this opportunity? Harold, of course, immediately agrees because he wants to make Elbaf a member nation. The Gorosei congratulate him as they tell him that the Great One has put trust in him. As he follows the Gorosei, they tell him that he'll be remembered as a king who brought great change to Elbaf. And he says, well, to be honest, when Elbaf joins the world government, I plan to relinquish my throne. He wants someone younger to take over. They finally reach their destination, and someone replies to Harold saying, this is a matter for Mu to decide. Harold is dumbfounded that someone is sitting in the empty throne, and Imu tells him, I've been watching you. There's a huge scream in Mary Joie. The whole castle is just being rocked. Harold has gotten a new seal, and there's like insane power surging within him. Can't even imagine how strong this dude must be at this point. Tell him that this is the power of immortality, and he is now a mighty weapon beyond any wild monster. He is an immortal knight sworn to Mu. Even Harold can't believe it here, but Imu commands him to carve an abyss pentagram in Elbaf, and that will officially mark the bond between them. So Harold returns to Elbaf, and everyone is rejoicing because he told them that he just has to do this last mission and then they'll become a member nation. And it's done now. But Imu just told him something, and he's like, can you repeat that? Mobilize the entire nation and form a grand army of warriors. Giant warrior fleet will stand alongside the Marines and serve the world. Harold is like, absolutely not. Everything I've done was to free Elbaf from violence. If someone wants to fight, I just tell them to enlist in the Marines. Harold's men are hella confused. Imu tells him, you vowed to atone for Elbaf's history. You said you would become a slave. This panel is just so sinister, man. Harold says, I meant to carry that burden alone. And Imu tells him, you're not meant to carry that burden alone, and you can't disobey me. Who tells him, yeah, you might be much stronger after getting this power, but it comes at the cost of total obedience to me. Thou will carry out Mu's orders regardless of thy will. And Harold starts to realize, oh shit, I'm losing control, this is not good. He realizes the plan was always to enslave the warriors of Elbaf, and he screams to get his guards' attention. He orders them to chain him to this pillar and summon the Elder and his two sons. They explain that Hyrudine is out at sea and Loki is still imprisoned. Thinks to himself, I can't resist for long, and he says none of that matters now, just free Loki. We're shown Loki in the jail in the underworld of Elbaf, and the guards tell him, you're free to go, and he's confused. He's like, what? They say, the king requires your presence in the castle at once. And they also tell Mountainbeard, like, something urgent requires your presence, and he's like, what's going on? Narrator kicks in and is like, this is the day of that castle massacre where the beloved King Harold lost his life. Even though I wouldn't make the same choices as Harold, it's hard not to feel bad for the guy. This whole flashback of Elbaf and Loki's backstory and everyone's is just very tragic. It's no wonder that these scans were not finished by Oda, just like that chapter in the Egghead arc. I don't think this is a coincidence. I think these are very dark chapters that Oda might have trouble finishing. And what is the one common factor between these two flashbacks? Yo, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, Bogart. Is that a coincidence? I don't know.